Now then guys, how's it going? Adar here, back with another commentary video. It's been a while, it's been a hot minute. I've jumped back on Warzone. I've been playing a lot of solos in the last couple of weeks actually, which I've been enjoying a lot. I've changed my mentality around how to play solos. Before I used to be super scared camping in buildings and whatnot, and I'm not saying I don't do that, but I've just learned to be a bit more aggressive and not actually be so scared and tense, because at one point this game was scarier than playing Resident Evil 7 in VR. Like, I found this shit terrifying. So I'm back again doing another video. I'm not saying this is going to be a regular thing, but I thought I just wanted to jump on, make some more videos, make some content. I kind of felt a bit creative, hence that kind of interesting intro video and trailer that I did at the start of this. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Hopefully you stuck around and now realise this actually is a commentary video and not just a montage. But we've got two games here. I won't tell you what happens in either, but the title's Yin and Yang, kind of dark and good, the balancing, kind of winning one, losing one. So you'll find out, obviously, after the first one, which one I won and which one I lost. But hopefully it's a fairly interesting game. It's kind of a live commentary per se. You know, I'm not actually playing the game right now, but I haven't got a script in front of me. So what I wanted to really do was just talk about the gameplay, talk about some of the decision making that I made, and really kind of follow the game through. You know, maybe editing out a bit of it, which was a little bit boring in some parts, but for the most part, it's going to be hopefully a fairly interesting video, and we'll see how we kind of get on. So as I mentioned, I haven't played a bunch of solos, but I've started getting into it more. We've tended to lean more towards Rebirth in the last couple of weeks. Actually, probably more month or so, I'd say. Probably kind of, I guess the inception of Caldera was kind of fun because it was a different map. With all the changes that they've made in the last, I'd say, couple of weeks, and actually with the new season coming out, season 3 or 4, some of the updates that they've posted in the channel on the Fabric, not the Favre board. Whatever the borders that they use to put their updates on, look quite good. I think the fact that they're going to remove some shrubbage, trees and stuff, about 50% from the game, on top of the changes that they already made, is quite good. So hopefully should make camping in bushes hopefully not as powerful as it once was, and more in line with what Verdansk was. That was, in my opinion, the best map, and I think that's kind of held strongly, you know, as the best map across the Warzone community. So we'll see what happens when Season 4 comes out, if it is in fact Season 4, which is on Tuesday. So I'm recording this Monday the 20th of June, so we should see that tomorrow. So I'll see if I can get some cool content, and we'll see if we can you know, bring out some more Rebirth gameplay. They've changed the map, which should be quite interesting, so that'll be kind of fun to get used to. There's a lot of talk about whether they're going to bring Verdansk back, which I think would be awesome if that was the case. I can't see it happening immediately. I think it might be something that happens during Warzone 2. I think they've got another kind of 5-6 months with improved Caldera and the new Rebirth map to kind of give them some time. Then obviously they'll be bringing out the new Warzone 2 map, which apparently a lot of streamers have already watched anyway, and they've said it could be fairly good. I think it's based on some sort of Mexican drug cartel vibe. So we'll see whether that's the case or not. But it'll be exciting to see. You know, obviously Warzone at the minute is taking up a lot of my time in a good way. You know, I play with a bunch of friends. That's predominantly where we kind of play. But you know, I've been trying to enjoy solos as well. It can be kind of good in terms of gameplay. So anyway, let's start talking about the gameplay. I've spoken enough about various other things for the last 4.5 minutes. So this guy here, I didn't realise, I don't know if it was this guy here or not, but the guy in a minute that kind of chases me down, and I've got some kind of ultra defensive escape route in a minute that you'll see, which is quite funny. I look back at Warzone stats, and if you don't know, that's where you can see stats for you know, Warzone. It gives you KD, gives you last 100 games, gives you win ratios and stuff like that. So we get into a bit of a fight right here, and I didn't realise this guy had a 5.79 KD. So you guys probably won't know this, but my KD is 1.66 at the minute all time, and Caldera is like 2.4. So I've improved a lot. We did mess around a lot at the start. I think probably 2 to 2.5 is a realistic KD for me for the most part. So this is the bit where I kind of get high alerted in a minute as well, I think, which is massively useful here, because I probably would have just got gunned down if I hadn't seen that. So you can see I get high alerted there, see him at the top of my map. And the interesting thing about watching gameplay back is actually how much stuff you miss. Your eyes are obviously focusing on one part of the map, but if you're watching gameplay, and I've watched this clip a few times back, I actually saw him earlier on, which is quite interesting. So I'm in a position here where I've got no plates. He's got the better gun. He's probably using an STG or an NZ41, just like everyone else in the community at the minute. They seem to be the most prevalent guns right now. So I'm in a position where I have to get out. Luckily, I hadn't planned this. There was a mine there, and there's a really interesting bit in a minute. So I get high alerted when I'm actually in the tunnel. So I have a feeling someone's going to come through. So I'm not sure how I got high alerted. It must have been some sort of bug, but it actually ended up saving my life because I would have walked up that ladder and got absolutely destroyed by this guy. So what was he using there? It looks like the well gun and the SCG, I think. So yeah, that gun would have absolutely beat me. So I cut this little bit out because I was trying to see if I could get out, but a car actually came up and parked its car on top of me, and I think this possibly was the guy that was hunting me just now. So I thought I have to get out of there because the gas is moving. I tried to, which I edited out, take a different tram car to a different part of the map, but that didn't let me. I guess that's because the gas was coming. So I was getting absolutely beamed here. Got in the car, tried to get out as quickly as possible, managed to escape from him, found some other dude here, thought I had to kill him, managed to get out, which is the most powerful thing in this game, which is obviously if you drive up to someone, you can jump out of the car and they have no idea where your position is, which is why vehicles and solos and actually any game is super powerful. So if you didn't notice, the threat has gone back up to red. My car's almost destroyed. I'm trying to get away. Gas is pushing me. This guy knows exactly where I am because he's hunting me. So my goal at this point is just to run away, play up, and see if I can get a better advantage, right? Because he knows exactly where I am. He has the insane advantage on me. So normally if this was a fight where I wasn't being hunted and he didn't know where I was, I probably would have turned around and fought that, made it slightly more close range than anything further distance, because I have the submachine gun. So I haven't got any guns at the minute that I can beam with. So I was trying to use just different guns that were outside of the meta. It gets fairly boring using the NZ41 and the STG for the last couple of weeks. So I thought I'd do something a little bit more interesting. I've loved sniping ever since COD 4. It's super hard in Warzone now with the changes that they made to the K-Swiss and the Kar 98. So it looks like the ZRG is probably one of the better ones. There was that random glitch a few months ago or weeks ago with the AX50, which was just hit scan. That lasted for a couple of days before they fixed it. So my goal here literally is just to get out of this position. I don't think I have the right guns to fight. He knows exactly where I am. I'm trying to escape as quickly as possible just to get myself into a slightly better position. This guy's fairly good. He's fairly persistent. I think he might need the cash for killing me, or he's just a pretty aggressive player. So I think about taking the car, but I remember what happened last time where he absolutely beamed it and I got disabled. So I don't want to get a disabled vehicle in the middle of this forest because it would just be an absolute nightmare. So I think my best bet is just to move. I know the bounty's ended now, so I should be fairly safe in terms of getting away from them. So I'm going to hold out in this building here for a minute. I'm just going to regroup, going to play it up and just kind of watch things, see how they unfold. So I'm on 8 kills as it stands. I've travelled around the whole map. I've been hunted down. So it's now kind of my chance to just settle down a little bit, think about gameplay, think about where the circle's going to end. Unfortunately, the sniper here for me just isn't working. I haven't done it for a long time. I might need to go back to the drawing board and maybe not use a ZRG. There's a couple of other snipers that look interesting. So I'm pretty sure he had a grenade launcher or a rocket launcher or something. So I decided to dip out at that point, which was probably the best thing to do. There's a fire sale at the moment, so I want to see if I can get some things from there. I know there's going to be guys around here somewhere. So my goal at this point is just to kind of find a good position, try to go edge of circle. In a minute, you might not be able to hear it depending on how loud I have the footsteps in the game. I've got them turned up pretty loud in terms of in-game volume, so I could hear that guy walking. He obviously had no idea that I was there. For perks, I'm not using Ghost, I'm using Overkill. So they basically nerfed Ghost to the point where it's just almost irrelevant. I'm not sure exactly what they've done, but I think it's around if you're not moving, then Ghost doesn't work effectively and you can still be on heartbeats in radar, so it only really works if you're moving. So I think there's a lot better perks that you can use instead of Ghost, which is actually really good because it means that you have the option to use other perks like Tempered, Overkill, High Alert, for example, which unfortunately, or fortunately for me actually, I picked up in this game as a perk that you can pick up off the ground. So I think moving away from having ghosts is interesting because it means that you're able to find people more easily. It kind of frees up the second perk. It means that you're not relying on everyone using the same perk, so it opens up the game slightly. So high alert here completely saved my life. So I'm thinking about using it for solos games in general. Having 2 weapons is super useful, but often if you can kill one person, because you get loadout so early on, you can often pick up their gun anyway. So providing that they've gone for overkill, you should be able to get a secondary, an SMG or a sniper at the very least. But having high alert in a game like solos where you haven't got your teammates looking out for you can be super useful. So here I hear someone land on the roof, get lucky with the position that he was on this side and not the other side, because I didn't actually have time to play it up. What I didn't want to do was be in a position where he was on the roof and he had position of me when the gas started to move, and then he would have been able to just completely gun me down. So as I mentioned before, super interesting when you watch gameplay back. I don't know if you saw that there. I saw it just a second ago. The guy ran past the screen on the top right. So obviously at this point I had no idea. So I thought he might have still been behind me. He made the rotation around and he managed to get out there. So I noticed I had a buy station. The first thing I wanted to do was get some plates. More important than having a kill streak or anything like that. If you have to play it up, that's it, you're kind of screwed. So at this point I start to rotate up the top of the map, moving around. Up here, trying to get position. I know that the map obviously faces downwards slightly, so having height here is super important. I'm surprised no one was actually up there. That guy seems to have rotated inside, which was a bit of an interesting move. He had pretty good position to the left. If he'd stayed up, and he'd been quiet, I probably wouldn't have seen him. So I play fairly conservative. I think I'm not like a lot of the other streamers where they run and gun. This bit's quite funny actually. This guy got a little bit annoyed, which kind of started off my next spree. So I see it's 3 people left. I have 11 kills. You'll see in a second that the other guy dies, which is interesting. There's nothing worse than being put in a position where you're getting third-partied. Often I like to let the 2 other guys fight so that it's just a one-on-one. So many times, and I've made the mistake before, I'll shoot someone, they'll get third-partied, they'll know where I am, and then it becomes a 1v1, but they know what position I'm in. So in this situation, I kind of just waited a little bit. I felt like I had position. I do have snapshots on, so I chucked one of those, notice where he's at, start to beat him here. He manages to duck out of that position, and then he's behind this rock here. And then we have a little bit of a fight, kind of go back and forth. The gas pool is massively, or the circle pool rather, is massively in my favour. I'm not sure if I got spotted because I threw a snapshot and his trophy set it off, or whether he had a snapshot as well. So I see him slightly too late here, and I managed to throw a grenade in a second, but it gets kind of tense. I wish I had my watch on to tell me how fast my heart was beating, but this bit's quite interesting. So I see him right at the last second. He's got to come towards me. I'm assuming he has a gas mask, so let's see what happens. Managed to get him down, and the cluster comes in. I've got the gas mask so I can get the thirst and get the finish there. So I think that was a 12 kill game, and then we'll move on to the next game in a second. Right then, game 2. So decided to land on a different part of the map. One of the first things I like to do is just pick up any other gun that isn't a starting pistol, and then get myself familiar with the surroundings. Tend to get some hype just to see who else has landed here. This is a fairly desirable, pretty popular spot, so it's fairly safe to assume that a couple of other guys have landed this part of the map. It was fairly, I think, in line with the flight path as well, so and within circle, so that makes a big difference. This guy didn't have a Scooby on what was going on. He was doing some random 360s trying to avoid it, but unfortunately, when you get snuck up on like that, it's pretty impossible to turn around and gun that other person down. So got the first kill down. Obviously with the changes to loadout, which happened a while ago, but obviously always wasn't the case. They added in the loadouts within the first minute or so, whereas before it used to be either not at all or within like 5 minutes or something. So definitely a welcome change. So I see this guy on top of the tents there. My goal was just to, I thought, I had an opportunity to down him. Obviously I did. I took that shot. Use this as an opportunity to push up on the map. He probably assumes that I'm still going to be in that position. I'm assuming that's his loadout as well. Yeah, he's looking over there, probably at his loadout. Manages to get away again, and obviously now he hasn't got a self as well, so it can be pretty sure to kill him. See him in the tents there. Tried to get height as well, and then I see him running away, but obviously he's low on plates, low on health, so managed to get the kill there as well. So I'm being hunted. Luckily pick up a UAV as well, which is super helpful. I was going to save it until I saw it go up to orange threat, if that was the case, but I don't believe this guy ever pushed. So I'm in a pretty good position. This is going to be my playground for most of the game. It's a pretty good part of the map where you get to see a lot. It's not as open as some other parts of the map, so it's a pretty good position to kind of lock down. That's kind of my kind of ultimate goal game mode, I guess tactic for these Warzone solos, is to kind of find a part of the map that's fairly within circle, lock it down, you know, and kind of just make sure that you're in a good position with selfs, plates, and bullets. So this guy here rolls up. He didn't stand a chance. Crashed into the the one thing that kind of slowed him down there, and thankfully for me, dropped me off some plates. So I'm not sure whether this is a particularly good lobby. I've been finding whether it's because solos are maybe there's less people playing them. Maybe it's harder for matchmaking to find any game modes. It means that a lot of the lobbies that I'm in typically are lower skilled. I guess they have a smaller pool of players to select from, and the average KD I think is around 0.8. So a bunch of the lobbies I find myself in, typically if I'm playing Rebirth, are 1.2, 1.3 lobbies. For the most part, a lot of the solos games, which might explain why I've had a fair amount of kills and a fair amount of wins in the last couple of weeks, have been 0.8, 0.9 lobbies. Maybe, as I said, there's just a less pool of players, a smaller pool of players to select from, which is great for me. There's probably not that many people playing solos Caldera. I suspect, and it's probably heavily weighted towards Rebirth at the minute. It'd be interesting to know what the split was, but the fact that they're bringing out a new Rebirth map, only 6-7 months after bringing out the new Caldera map, says that is probably one of the more popular game modes. I mean, if you look at Twitch and you look at YouTube streaming, I would say 80% of the videos out there are Rebirth people playing, and it makes sense, right? There's a lot of commitment time that goes into Caldera. You can play 30 minutes, get 2 kills, and then die by some random bullshit in the game, which is super frustrating. So this could have been one of those examples, right? This guy's camping in one of the many bushes in Caldera, manages to sneak up on me, somehow doesn't manage to kill me. I kind of slide cancel, bunny hop, jump out of the way. I've got back paddles on my controller, and I'm happy to do a setup video on what my controller looks like. It's a PS5 controller that's been modified with some third-party paddles. I did see a rumor recently, actually, that PS5 are looking to produce their own professional PS5 controllers. They did have that back button attachment on the PS4. Obviously Scuff are doing their own thing as well. This is a cheaper alternative to Scuff, and I think actually gives pretty good results. So if anyone's interested, let me know, and I'll give you a rundown on what it looks like, how it works, how to set it up, all that kind of good stuff. It takes a fair amount of time to set up. I'd say a good hour, but once you get it in, it's a lot cheaper than buying a Scuff controller. Knock 130 quid off it. I paid probably 80 quid for the controller plus the piece of kit that you need to pin the back paddles on it, and it's just great for slide cancelling, hopping around. It just means that you don't have to take your right hand or right thumb off the controller, so you've got more movement, more freedom, and I'm sure you guys know this stuff anyway, but in case you didn't, then obviously let me know, and I'm happy to walk you guys through that. So still on top of the map, this is kind of my playground, as I mentioned before. I'm seeing a lot of people jump in. They're trying to go for the high loot areas, which typically is that building there. See this guy landing, whether he's come from the gulag or just taken one of the balloons is a different story, which means he might have viable guns. Based on how he beams you in a second, I'm assuming it is one of his load up weapons. So managed to get the kill on him, got the down. I would love a UAV right now just to give myself a bit of an idea of what's going on, who's where. So there's 40 players left, 37 players, 36 players to be exact. See another guy here, beam him with the well gun at that distance as well. He obviously must have been low. Serpentine there, which is a perk I don't agree with. Probably gave him a bit more time. I knew that he was low health, so I knew that there must have been someone else near him, and obviously I saw him through the tent as well. So a little bit wary of where this player's at. The one thing I noticed here is that I didn't look left to see if anyone was on top of that tower behind me, because they would have had a free range to just kill me. So I know this guy's around here somewhere. I take my time here. You know, I could have shot slightly earlier, but he might have had an opportunity to duck behind that rock, and then obviously he would have killed me as well. So the field of view thing, which I think I may not have mentioned yet, is a big factor playing on console. And there's one thing I want to mention in a second, which is trigger discipline as well. But field of view, that guy might not have seen you because he was on console. And that's one of the biggest things I'm looking forward to when they announce and release Warzone 2, is hopefully, because I think they are still doing a backwards compatibility version of it, they'll be focusing a lot of their efforts towards next gen consoles or current gen consoles today, and I'm hoping that the tech is there for them to allow field of view on the PS5, because if you think about it, right, when you pop dead silence, your screen is pulled back, and it was the same in PS4 as well, so they have the ability to do it. It's just whether the technology allows them to across cross-platform, cross-play, all that kind of stuff. So pop the UAV. It gives me a good idea of where players are at. Most people don't typically tend to run Ghost anymore, which is kind of good for UAVs. So the other thing I wanted to mention was trigger discipline. So after playing, because I've been playing Call of Duty for the last probably 15 or so years, fairly on, not so much off, the one thing I've sort of learnt and taught myself is trigger discipline, which is especially important in Warzone, not so much in multiplayer. Multiplayer is the company that I work for. So for Warzone, you have to be really careful with your trigger discipline, because in that situation a second ago when that guy was behind that rock, I could have shot my gun and he could have had an opportunity to get down behind the rock and then position himself in a better position to then gun me down. So there I kind of waited a second, waited for that guy to get out of the box, down that guy there, and this for me is just waiting for the right time to shoot my gun, because as soon as you shoot them, that's it, game over, right? They know where you're at, they've got an opportunity to hide, and they can get away from you. If you give yourself a little bit more time when that player's out of cover, isn't behind a rock, all that kind of good stuff, and you've given yourself a good opportunity to kill them, gun them down, and then there won't be a problem in the future. So here's the advanced UAV, a little bit skeptical at this point. I know someone's probably going to be pushing in because the gas is coming this way, so my job at this point is to just kind of lock down the map, kind of get an idea of where the map's moving to, and just making sure that I'm covering myself from all angles. So you'll notice I don't look at one sort of way for too long. I try to reduce tunnel vision. I try to look around the map, make sure that I'm covering all angles, and you'll notice that every 10 seconds, 15 seconds, I look behind me, change positions, because in solos, very, very, you're not in a squad, right? So you've got 120 players or 100 players that are all spread out across the map, so the chances of you running into someone is more likely than if you were playing quads, for example, where there's a smaller set of teams that are going to be concentrated in one area. So that guy there unfortunately lands back on his stuff. Honestly speaking, I probably would have done the same thing, to be honest, because trying to regain in Caldera is almost impossible, especially when you're playing solos. Not too bad when you're playing quads. They have upped the amount of cash that you can find. There just isn't a bunch of contracts to get that kind of stuff done, though. So the balance of the game at the minute, I think, is fairly good. There's always going to be a meta, right? There's always going to be a couple of guns which stand out, and obviously I'm using the bar, which I wouldn't say is the most obvious meta, but it's definitely a strong gun. I think the one thing that lets it down is the rate of fire. But I would kind of, just for my three top meta classes at the minute, would say the NZ41, the STG's been meta for probably since the start of the game, but people kind of alternated between the Bren, which was a massive problem when the first game came out because I had no recoil. I would say the NZ41 is kind of on par with what the Bren was like at the start of the game. So now the NZ41, if you've put the burst attachment on, and you have to remember to alternate between burst and fully automatic, it can be super powerful and just has no recoil whatsoever. So they are fun to use because you can absolutely beam people across the map, which is always obviously good fun, but they are frustrating obviously when you're on the other side as well. So I quite like it when there's no meta, when there's you have the opportunity to use any gun that you want, because it just makes it more interesting and more fun. Then again was another example of trigger discipline. So I knew that guy could have hid behind one of the rocks, so I wanted to wait till he was further in the open, wait until I knew that he didn't have any opportunity to get out, and anywhere to hide. So that would have been my one opportunity to get him down. 21 players left on the map, 1 spectator. See a guy landing over there. He's not really a problem for the minute. See a car coming in, which again is one of the problems of using a car in solos, is that obviously everyone knows where you're at. Pretty sure I beam him, but then I hear someone landing in behind me as well. Luckily managed to kill him on probably one of the last bullets, because he would have been a problem, because he would have been stuck behind the tents and maybe it would have been a bit more of a challenge to kill. So there's 19 people left. We're getting kind of towards the end of the game. 14 kills, so doing pretty well. Now I'm in a position where I have to move, because based on where the gas is pulling me, I'm in a bit of a difficult position, right? I know that to get there is a fairly long way. I can see that there's people still pushing in from the bottom of the map. Again, waiting for trigger discipline as well for him to get behind or out behind from those rocks. Down him. And then I see another guy on a second run up behind me as well. So my sort of play thinking here is, there's a guy. I know, I'm pretty confident there's going to be a guy on the building that I started on right in front of me there. That's just a good position to start to hold people. Luckily, see this guy here. He's got no idea that I'm here, so it should be a fairly easy kill. He's running out in the open, and again, trigger discipline, waiting for him to come out. I see a guy in a second on top of that roof, and he had the perfect position to hold me, right? So I'm in a bit of a difficult position right now. The one thing I can see is that there's so he's doing exactly what I would have done, right? I would have held that position down. So I'm in a pretty difficult position. I didn't really have time to go right, because the gas probably would have killed me. So I break him, try to jump on the rope there to give myself an opportunity to get away and to get out into the map. It's pretty hard to down someone as they're going up, because you move so fast and it feels like you get no aim assist. So I'm trying to reposition myself here, get to the other part of the map, get on the boat, and hopefully there's no one here. And I should be in a pretty good position to kind of get on the other side of the map and kind of work my way back into where the circle's at. So things get a little bit tense here, because I'm thinking in my head, is anyone going to be here? I haven't got any snapshots to check, so I would have been, obviously that would have been super useful. Make my way around. I'm being way too loud. And then unfortunately there's just a guy camping there. I managed to break him, but you know, he obviously heard me. He would probably been there for quite a while, and unfortunately managed to gun me down. So that's the end of that one. I just wanted to show you that one, because it could have been a fairly high kill game. Hopefully you enjoyed the 2 videos, and I'm sure I'll be back in the future with some more content as well.